Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today I'm going to be answering questions on our AskHR subreddit on Reddit. Because I'm banned, this is part 11, so let's get right into it. This next one is from California, and it's quite interesting. It says, I've been told that there's good racism and it's okay at work. They just started a new job at a large startup, and the first meeting of the team went well. And when we all left the room, the founder said to me, that was a great meeting, but I don't like that when I look around the table, I see all old white people. It's a small startup leadership team, and everyone was hired based on their industry experience and skills. The person was taken aback, but the next day, the founder wrote to him and said they were looking at hiring a new senior sales executive and ended saying, and please, someone not so white, okay? And the colleague wrote back and said in a casual way, oh no, that's okay. He's not being racist. If anything, that's the good racism. We're standing up for black and brown people. And the writer goes on and says, surely if roles were reversed, we'd have an issue. Am I one out of step? And how do I address this when they think they're being virtuous and fighting the good fight? Well, to be quite honest, there's not a lot of good options. Now, for one, I do want to point out that the fact there is a protected white or a protected class here with respect to ageism, which is against the law, with the comment old white people, and as a result, you could whistleblow with the EEOC. There is absolutely a case of discrimination with respect to old and ageism. So if you want to go that route, you're absolutely welcome to. But ultimately, do you think if you went to work for the KKK, do you think that you would be able to change their culture? Because that's what you're painting the picture here, right? And so long term, I don't see this going well. I don't see the idea that you're going to be successful, and I don't see that it's going to look good for you. So you're welcome to report the old comment to the EEOC, but if you're uncomfortable with what's going on there, you shouldn't expect a whole lot of change, and you should be looking elsewhere. It is what it is, and it is the nature of work, especially in the tech industry, especially in California, and unfortunately, these are the circumstances that our culture has created. You're welcome to stand up. I don't expect that you'll get a lot of I don't expect that you'll get a lot of support, and I don't expect that it'll be very successful. Again, there is an EEOC claim to be made potentially with respect to the comment old white people, and you could file, and you would be protected from retaliation, although that is always a question. But let's move on to the next one from Maryland. This one from Maryland is quite short, and my response will be quite short. Can I be fired on a PIP, or a performance improvement plan, for those of you who are not familiar? I was placed on a PIP February 1st. My manager put a meeting on my schedule today for 3 p.m. On tomorrow, I have a bad feeling that I will be let go. That's a really short PIP. For one, for context for anyone else who's involved, that's 2 weeks. Generally, they're 3 months. It's a really short PIP. But yeah, I would guess, if I had to hazard a guess, it would be 90% of the employees who are placed on a PIP are let go. That's sort of standard operating procedure. I have worked for a company where the employee went on like 2 or 3 PIPs, and that's pretty irregular. But yes, you can be fired on a PIP, and in fact, it's quite likely that you will be fired on the PIP. Next up is out of Minnesota. It says exempt employees don't qualify for breaks? Question mark. This person is a team that works in healthcare, and the manager scheduled a meeting to discuss work and how to get 36 contact hours a week with patients, and said that exempt employees are not required to be given breaks. So let's dig into this one. Well, first off, let's define what an exempt employee is. The Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 is the act that defines um, everything. I mean, not everything, but overtime hours was defined from the FLSA, and that's where you get exempt or non-exempt. To be clear here, it's exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, or non-exempt, not exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which defines OT. So, if an exempt employee does not qualify for, or if an exempt employee, exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act, is it's not being tracked for time, right? So there is no time as an exempt employee. You're paid regardless whether or not you work 0 hours a week or 260 or however many hours there are in a week, right? You could it's all the same. So ultimately, there is no break because there is no time. Time is meaningless in the context of exempt or non-exempt. And so, and I want to clarify, obviously, with government contracting and other functions where you are tracking time for the purposes of billing customers or something of that nature, that's when you might see some tracking of time for exempt employees. But for the most part, time is immaterial for exempt employees, and as a result, breaks are immaterial. So to answer this person's question, no, they don't really qualify for breaks because that doesn't define it. This person talks about how that all employees are entitled to a paid break. That's all exempt employee or all non-exempt employees. Sorry. And so it's a little absurd. I can't believe this person has gotten to this point with respect to their career and not realize that. But that's one of the penalties that you suffer as for going exempt and for increasing and growing in your career. But on the flip side, if for example you get sick and you don't have any vacation, you still get paid, and that's the great thing about exempt. It's a steady paycheck that you can count on across all types of circumstances, and that's what's good about it. So what do you think about these comments today? What do you think about what's going on here? It's really interesting. I always love this segment. I always love this video because what people ask on AskHR is always really unique. And again, I can't give my opinion, so I have to give it here. Like, share, and subscribe, and please leave me a comment down below. It really helps out a struggling channel. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye, guys.